to break every chain, break every chain, break every chain. As the first Black woman executive director of the Massachusetts Commission on LGBTQ Youth, the only commission of our kind in the country, I often begin my speeches by saying, if you free the most marginalized person in the room, you'll free everyone else. Early in my career as a social worker, I met the younger version of myself. He was this young Black gay boy. He was fashionable, obviously. He was fierce, fiery. He was beautiful, yet voiceless. He was thrown back into the system because of his sexuality, and I could relate. He began engaging in sex work, and at 17, he contracted HIV. When his group home found out about his status, they kicked him out. He was given less than his white peers in the very same condition, and that pissed me off. I went to war with the system that tried to erase him, and in doing so, I realized I'm beginning to find my own voice. You see, this reflection became my deflection. I could fight for people like me without exposing myself. I could get pissed, I can fight for justice and truth and acceptance, but would cower at the very thought of doing the same for Shaplaie. Finding your truth is such a deeply personal experience. It requires us to go deep within the recesses of our minds and hearts to find our true path. I had no idea where my journey would lead me, but I knew that I had no choice. My future was calling. 16 years ago, I was pregnant with my daughter, and I called my sister. I said, Lily, I'm having these flashbacks, and I need just a little bit of help. Do you remember when Grandma lived in that big red brick building on Cadillac Drive? I remember it had elevators, gold elevators, and maroon carpets. When you walked inside her apartment, I remember this kitchenette to her left. And I remember her recliner. And Grandma had so many plants. My sister stopped me and said, Poopy, how do you remember that? You were 2, maybe 3 years old. I ignored her question. I said, I remember Grandma picked me up early that day from school because I was sick. And, she brought me back to her apartment, and Uncle Junior was there. My sister gasped. Grandma said, Junior, watch her. I need to go get Shaplaie some medicine. And if you have any proximity to Black people, medicine in our community is ginger ale and saltine crackers. So Grandma was going to get me the hookup. So I remember when Grandma left, the first thing I felt was this weight on top of me. I remember that she had these sheets with black cats and red kiss marks, and the blood ran through the sheets. When Grandma returned, I lay there naked on the bed. And she asked my uncle, she said, what happened? Why is she laying here like this? He said, well, Mama, she threw up, and I had to throw the sheets in the wash. My grandmother picked me up, bathed me, dressed me, and we sat in that recliner watching the news, Wheel of Fortune, and Jeopardy. Her grip was so tight, and she cried silently. You see, my grandmother, her touch was the first to offer both protection and betrayal. You see, she had been here before, both as a survivor and the matriarch of his countless victims before me. Silence allows truth and trauma to marinate. This silence meant that my family didn't fight for me. A lack of accountability damages the bloodline. And I thought maybe Grandma didn't say anything because maybe silence equaled safety for her. Like if she said nothing, maybe it would all just go away. I didn't know, but what I do know now is that that was the day it was there when I lost my voice. I was outed in middle school. I was outed by this girl who was like afraid to walk in her own truth. I had this beautiful community around me. And I mean, that day, they picked this really cool name for me. I mean, it was very cutesy, very demure. They called me Shaplaie. Yep, they called me Shaplaie. And I mean, while it aged pretty well, I mean, it was hurtful at the time. I remember that they found out that I liked girls, and that was the day that I went from prey to predator. Like I was someone that they now had to secretly watch out for because I would be watching them in the shadows, desiring them. I was now an outcast in my own community. In the queer community, well, I was Black. But I wasn't like your regular Black girl, right? I wasn't one that would assimilate, right, to make sure that I was palatable for my white peers. No, first of all, my name is Shaplaie, and secondly, I'm blackity black. And so navigating that space as a young Black girl, but then stepping into this new existence as a Black lesbian was interesting for me. The intersection of these identities, they often leave Black lesbians feeling unseen, unheard, unprotected, and silent. Well, I would go on from there to marry someone and end up in an abusive marriage. So, how do you free the most marginalized person in the room? Well, sometimes they aren't that far away. Sometimes they're within us. I was beginning to realize that I had to free me. Accepting my truth meant, yes, I can accept that I am this bad boss chick now, right? But I also had to remember that there were some traumas that happened, and now I've made decisions. And what truth did I have to accept about the decisions that I had made? Like getting pregnant on this very campus 23 years ago. First year of college. Happy birthday to my son. Today's his birthday. He's 22. Or marrying a man just because I thought it was the right thing to do, essentially putting myself and my son in danger, and then having a baby girl who would likely fall into my same footsteps. Uncovering our truth requires us to tell the truth about ourselves. It requires us to release the shame. And I was thinking, hey, I can release the shame from my ancestors and also from my baby girl. Stepping into my truth, I had to remember what I was doing. Okay, where do I go now? I filed for divorce in 2019. I was releasing and liberating my 2, maybe 3-year-old self and giving voice to the voiceless. I released the shame of my queerness, which paved the path for my daughter to step boldly into hers. We often look at these barriers as just external, these metaphorical brick walls that we've built to keep others out. But barriers are often internal. They are those things that are keeping us small, stuck, and silent. They are the unprocessed traumas that we inherit, the life-altering experiences that we suppress, and the perspectives that we adopt to survive. These chains, these links and these chains and our story, well, they not only bind us, but they keep us trapped. How do you uncover your truth? Well, again, you have to remember who you are, and you also have to stand firm in your path. The only way to grow to that path, the only way to grow into your purpose is to face some truths about you. So what truth are you willing to face today? How can you heal yourself, for your communities, for our world, for your children? for the kids that you teach, for your inner child, that little girl that is being reminded of what her mom says all the time to her, just incessantly nagging, or that little boy who remembers the father that he had and the toxic masculinity that he displayed, or that young they, them, born male, assigned male at birth, but sits in church thinking about, ooh, I would love to be on Drew Paul's drag race. How will you free them? And will you do it today? Will you join me? To break every chain, break every chain, break every chain. Thank you.